We've had a slight switch up in the schedule. We've swapped the U.S. Army and Arizona State, so the presentation schedule will just be flipped a little bit. So right now we've got Sergeant Baker with the U.S. Army on hand to go ahead and give a presentation for you guys. Again, if you have any questions, make sure you're asking him through our social media channels, direct messaging us through Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, as well as sending us snaps so that we can relay all of those questions that you might have straight to our presenter so you get all the information you need. So without further ado, Sergeant Baker, welcome, and we're happy to have you.
Oh, thank you. Very glad to be here. Very happy to be here. I guess, like Ron said, my name is Sergeant Baker. I'm an Army recruiter. I'm out of Chandler, Arizona, and I'm here to talk to you about the education benefits that the Army offers, both while you're in the Army and when you separate from either the Army or Army Reserve. So it's a lot of information. I'll try to go through it as quickly as I can. Feel free to ask as many questions as you like, and I'll answer them all at the end. So as you guys can see, the first benefit is what's called the Concurrent Admissions Program. And the United States Army Recruiting Command, next slide please, the United States Army Recruiting Command actually has an agreement with over 1,900 participating colleges. And what this does is that this helps a soldier who is going to be exiting the Army or someone who is in the Army Reserve get accepted into a college of their choice, provided two things: they meet the admission requirements, and they are either an Army reservist or they've completed a term of service in the active duty. Okay, the whole goal here is to assist in the transition from active duty Army to directly into college to complete the post-secondary education. So to be eligible for this program, you enlist in either the active duty, either 3 to a 6 year term of enlistment. Okay, and there's 150 different jobs for you guys to choose from, depending on what you qualify for. Everything from aviation, logistics, medical, communications, IT, intelligence. I mean, the sky's the limit as far as that's concerned. Or you can enlist in the Army Reserves, which is a less than full-time. It's going to be a week and a month and 2 weeks a year, and that would qualify you for the program as well. After someone enlists in the Army, they participate in what's called the Future Soldier Training Program, which helps bridge the gap in the timeline from after someone enlists to when they actually leave for basic training. Okay, and it's when you automatically enroll into the Future Soldier Training Program directly after enlistment. Okay, next slide. Okay, so here's the information about how the ConApp program works. Okay, so after a soldier enlists, they send an email to the college referral and intent enrollment to the ConApp college stating their intent to enroll. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is there's no limit to how many colleges you want to apply for. We've had soldiers who really, after their 3 to 4 year term of enlistment, they don't know where they're going to be. So you can actually apply to colleges all over the United States. You have some flexibility as far as where you're going to go and transition to afterwards. Okay, the college is going to acknowledge your intent to enroll, and they're going to communicate with you as far as what the admission requirements are. They'll send you an acceptance letter, and then basically after you separate from the Army, that's when you would actually set up your academic schedule and start going to college at that point. Okay. One thing to keep in mind here is that you have to successfully complete the term of service and leave the Army under honorable conditions. Okay. Next slide. Okay. So a lot of people hear about the GI Bill, but they really don't know how much the GI Bill covers and how much of college it can actually pay for. So this is a snap of the Montgomery GI Bill and the Army College Fund. Okay. So to participate in this is for active duty only. Soldiers will contribute $1,200 split over $100 a month over 12 months. Okay, and the Montgomery GI, they'll basically yield just with the Montgomery GI Bill, a little bit over $49,000 for college. Okay, and the way that's broken up is they give you 36 equal payments, and you can kind of see from the graph there. You can also elect for what's called the Army College Fund. And if you scroll down, kind of look down towards the bottom of your screen, it's going to be dependent on how much time you serve in the Army. So as you can see, the longer you serve, the more college funding you're eligible for. Okay, this is not the only GI Bill that is available, and certainly not the only education benefit that's available, which we'll cover in the next slides. Okay. So for those who would like to enlist in the Army Reserve, the Army Reserve is going to give you a little bit less, but the benefit with that is that you are able to start college right after high school. You're able to go right into it. The Army Reserve is going to be a weekend a month and 2 weeks a year, typically in the summertime. Okay, but while you go to school full time in the Army Reserve, you're going to receive roughly about $367 a month, and that would be paid directly to you during the months that you are enrolled in school. If you're three-fourths time or half time, then the dollar amount goes down from there. Okay. Also within the Army Reserve and the active duty, you're eligible for $4,000 a year of tuition assistance. That would be paid directly to the college. Okay, so the Army would actually be directly assisting the payment of tuition. Okay, next slide. All right, so next we have the Partnership for Youth Success, okay, or it's commonly known as the PAYS program. But the PAYS program is it's a partnership with the United States Army and over 500 different companies. And what we do here is we try to align the job that someone wants to enlist for with what they're trying to do on the outside world, or civilian sector, if you will. Okay, so that being said, what we do is we actually guarantee you a sit-down, face-to-face interview with a company of your choice, and you elect for that company and that job interview during the time of your enlistment. I had a soldier who he enlisted at a motor vehicle operator, and he actually has a job with a big CDL company, and he probably have a very seamless transition into leaving the active duty Army and going right into a civilian career. As most of you know, in a digital world, I mean, there are thousands of resumes looked at and either tossed to the pile. It's very, very hard to get that face-to-face interview. So this helps bridge that gap and connect the separating soldier with the employer. Now the reserve component, you can qualify for this as well. Obviously, it would be a little bit more streamlined. To qualify for this, you would have to complete what's called the initial entry training, so your basic training, as well as your advanced individual training, or AIT, again, from basically like your job training. Okay, next slide. Okay, so again, the benefits are going to be a guaranteed job interview, which is huge. And like I said before, we try to align the position that one is applying for with the job specialty that they are enlisting for in the Army. Okay, so you're going to basically be leaving the Army and having an interview with work experience and possibly some education under your belt if you choose to do so. Okay.
And believe it or not, students, this is a huge advantage, being able to have work experience as you transition into the field that you're trying to get into after that. And
oh, absolutely.
Like Sergeant Baker said, having that guaranteed interview to get your foot a little bit in the door is definitely a huge added benefit. So
it is huge. I mean, the days of knocking on doors and handing out resumes and doing everything by a shake of a hand or a face-to-face referral from somebody, those days are pretty much over. Everything is more digitalized now, and I actually confirmed this with the CEO of Gold Canyon Candles, and basically what happens is your resume is scrubbed through a program. They look for certain keywords, and if none of those keywords are there, it's actually just tossed to the side. You don't even get a response. It's very, very impersonal, but unfortunately, that's just the nature of the way technology has advanced. So again, having that work experience, having that education, getting that, and guaranteeing that face-to-face interview, will set you miles ahead over somebody who just has a degree or with no experience or less experience than what you do. Okay. So the way this program works is you sign up for it upon enlistment. Okay, you identify the specific company and the specific position you would like to interview for. So anything ranging from police officer, firefighter, financial advisor, what have you. I mean, it's just going to depend on what's available in your area and how that coincides with the job that you choose to enlist for in the Army. Okay. All right. Next slide. So these are some of the current partners that participates in the PAYS program. This is certainly not all of them, but as you can see, this isn't exactly McDonald's or Burger King. I mean, you've got Baltimore Police Department, Union Pacific Railroad, Facebook, USAA, which is a very big financial institution, the Arizona Department of Public Safety, and then again, these are certainly not all the companies that participate. Next slide. Okay, so again, to qualify for this, you enlist in either entity of the United States Army, whether it's active duty or reserve. You sign up for the PAYS program upon enlisting, and you complete your initial entry training. You what's called MOS qualified, which you're awarded after you graduate from advanced individual training, and then and then honorably discharged or honorably separate from the United States Army. Okay, my name is Sergeant Baker. I'm filling in for Staff Sergeant Means. She had someone else she had to attend today. But right now, what I'd like to do is open it up for any questions.
So yeah, again, guys, make sure you copy this information down. Again, we'll be posting the information post event later next week with all the contact information for all of the people who are presenting. But again, it's definitely helpful if you just have this information offhand. So if this is something that you are interested in pursuing, make sure you're copying down this information right now. Again, where you could potentially go to the recruiting center, the phone number, who you're going to be talking to, so you're not just walking in blind. That way you know exactly which person you were looking for when you get there. And again, all that information is right here on this contact info slide.
All right, so one thing I do want to touch on too is another GI Bill that I really didn't cover is what's called the post 9/11 GI Bill. Now, this is for active duty only. The way it works is if someone serves 3 years of active duty, they will receive 100% of their tuition paid for directly to the school. So, for example, ASU, NAU, U of A, SoCal, UTEP, I mean, any state college, any accredited vocational school, 100% of the tuition will be paid for. Okay. In addition to that, you will actually receive what's called a housing allowance or stipend based on the zip code of the school. So, using ASU, for example, someone who has served in the Army, they go to ASU. Every month they are in school, they receive roughly about $1,488 a month while they are in school. That is tax-free, and you can use that to pay rent. You can save it if you're living at home. Use it to basically not have to work. I can tell you from experience, it is very difficult going to college,
trying to keep a job on the side.
Yeah, trying to get a job on the side and pay bills. So this really helps bridge that gap, because the ultimate goal here is to get veterans graduated with degrees, whether it be a bachelor's degree, master's degree, even all the way up to a doctoral degree. Okay, it's 36 academic months, which is 4 years. So it will cover from start to finish a bachelor's degree. In addition to the housing allowance, you receive roughly about $100 a month to help pay for books. Okay. And if your education if your degree requires a lot of like technical equipment, like if you're going for something in the communications or IT realm, you can apply and probably qualify for a $500 grant to help buy some of the equipment that you need. Okay, so if you're going for like computer programming or something along those lines, it could definitely help cover those expenses as well. The ultimate goal here is to, again, provide an education benefit to fund the degree so that you do not have to go into student loan debt. Okay.
All right, perfect. Well, we've gotten a couple questions, so we'll
great.
answer those real quick, and hopefully we get a couple more. Again, remember, guys, ask those questions through our social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as send us some snaps. That way we can get all those questions to the presenters. First one, is there a difference? So you talked about going for the basic training. Is there a difference from where reserves would go for the reserve program as opposed to if I was enlisting full-time? Where would I go for my basic training? Is there somewhere around here in Arizona, or would I be going across the country?
Gotcha. Okay, that's a very great question. When you active duty or reserve soldiers, they will go to the same basic training basis. So, like I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and I enlisted in the Army Reserve. Now there were soldiers there that were active duty as well as reserve. Okay. Now, after basic training, that's when you go to your advanced individual training. So that's going to depend on what job you choose. So, like for example, someone who is choosing something in the aviation field, they're going to go to Fort Eustis, Virginia. If someone enlists for a military police officer, they would go to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. So it really just depends on the job that one chooses. But after basic training, like for the reserve, then they would come back to Arizona and they would report to the unit that they're assigned to in Arizona. So reserve is a guaranteed spot in a unit in Arizona, whereas active duty, we are unable to actually guarantee where they're going to be stationed. They could be anywhere from North Carolina, South Carolina, New York, or even overseas, Germany, Italy, Korea, what have you.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Now, is there a common transition that you see for a lot of the soldiers for going into college? Is there a transition that you see them pursuing certain degrees? Is it sort of all over the map?
It definitely is all over the map. Since I've been assigned to Chandler, Arizona, I've had soldiers enlist for everything from satellite communications to even cybersecurity operations to aviation, and it really just depends on what their goal is. One of the common goals that we actually see is those trying to get into law enforcement. They want to be a police officer, and the way things are right now is that one cannot be a police officer until they're over the age of 21. So what this does is, if they enlist, really in any job, they're going to get that job experience, and especially with military police, they're going to get that law enforcement experience, and that's going to be a great transition into whatever department they want to pursue.
Absolutely. And it sounds like, you said 3 years, get out at 18, you bridge that gap for 3 years enlisting, and then by the time you're 21 and you're ready to jump in and try and be a police officer, you said you have all that experience backing you up.
Absolutely. So. My brother actually enlisted after college. He was trying to get. He has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and criminal science. Thank you. Yeah, and he's getting ready to separate, I would say, roughly in about the next 15 months, and he's already had certain law enforcement agencies contact him and schedule him for interviews for jobs ranging from even the $60,000 to $70,000 to $80,000 mark, starting off with, because he has that bachelor's degree and that work experience as well. Okay.
Perfect. So we just got a question through it looks like Facebook.
Okay.
Question from our student: why is the Army better than the other military branches out there?
Wow, here we go. There it is. All right, so I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to down talk any other branches of service. Our ultimate goal as the Armed Forces of the United States is to protect the people and the Constitution of the United States. Okay. However, one advantage of the Army versus the other branches is that with the Army you are able to choose your job before signing an enlistment. So the way this works is, let's say if you were sitting down with me, we were getting ready to choose your job. I log you into a live system. We go down all the jobs one by one. If there's not one that you like there, then I call what's called the Recruiting Operation Command, and I say, I have applicant so-and-so. We're looking for this job or this job. Can we see if it's available? With the other branches, some of the times you have to sign what's called an open contract, and you write down a wish list of jobs, and it's kind of a roll of dice on which one you get. They can guarantee your field, but they can't actually guarantee your job. So, for example, I have a future soldier who he wanted to be in the aviation field. He really wanted to work on Apaches. Now, if he had enlisted with another branch, he could get a job in the aviation field, but he wouldn't necessarily be guaranteed to work on a specific type of aircraft. He was able to get his dream job. He's actually going to be working on the avionics systems of the Apache helicopter.
Awesome. So, again, for the student who asked that question, you've got a little bit more control over what you are trying to do with your career inside the Army than you might with some of the other branches. So again, not necessarily better, as all of the armed forces do a fantastic job, but a little bit more control, which helps out. So we'll check and see if we have any more questions coming through. And it looks like that is the final question that we have. Again, Sergeant Baker, is there anything else that you'd like to say to our students who might be tuning in right now?
I mean, thank you very much for sitting down and listening. I hope I answered a lot of your questions and maybe sparked some interest. Feel free to give our recruiting center a call. If you're not local to the Chandler area, we will absolutely provide you contact information for a recruiter that is near you, and so you guys can pursue your goals.
All right, perfect. Well, again, Sergeant Baker, thank you very much for attending. Students, again, ask all of those questions that you might have through Facebook, through Instagram, through Twitter. Make sure you're sending us those snaps. Anything you can do to get those questions answered. We want to hear from you, and our presenters want to hear from you as well. We've got 2 more presentations coming up here. Next one is Arizona State, and that will be followed by the University of Arizona. So we've got a little bit of a rivalry going on here, Sun Devils versus Wildcats, for the next 2 presentations. Make sure you stay tuned, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes. Thank you.